The U.S. Census counts every resident in the United States and is required by the Constitution to take place every 10 years. Next year is it, and the 2010 census will help communities receive more than $400 billion in federal funds each year for things like hospitals, schools, bridges, and emergency services. The census data also helps determine the number of seats a state has in the House of Representatives. In March, census forms will be delivered to every resident in the United States. And joining us to discuss next year's census is Gene Wyant, the U.S. Census Office Manager in Charlottesville. Gene, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Bob. I'm glad to have this opportunity.
Now, why is it in people's interest to be counted?
The census numbers that we will develop over the next 6 to 8 months are used by planners in all different fields, in government, in business, in nonprofit organizations, to determine how they're going to conduct their business over the next 10 years or so. This means how many schoolrooms we need, how many hospital rooms we need, what sorts of EMT people we need in any given area. But I do want to make a very strong distinction between the numbers that we will generate and the personal information. People are sometimes concerned about talking with census folks because they don't want to have their privacy invaded. But what I'm talking about here is strictly numbers. We do not share any of the personal information that we gather with any other agency. We simply give them statistics that they can use in making effective planning for every community.
Now, in March, Americans will receive census forms in the mail. How complex is it?
This is actually the shortest and easiest form that the census has ever put out in its entire 220-year history. There are 10 questions altogether in each household. We're expecting one person, anyone basically over the age of 15, to be the person who is the filler out of the questionnaire. And it takes about 10 minutes per person in each household to complete the form. And these are very basic form very basic information, name, address, age, race, that sort of thing. It's very basic.
Now, what happens if you don't return the census form?
Well, we have follow-up procedures, and that's where we'll be engaged in from April through August to visit all the households that do not actually return their forms, because it is very important to every community, as I said earlier, and certainly to the running of government at all levels and to the development of private industry and local services for us to have this information. So we'll be coming and knocking on the doors of every household that does not actually return a completed census form. We may in some cases also receive forms that are only partly filled out, and those we'll also have to do some follow-up work with. But these will be people locally from the community who will come and help people fill out the forms.
Now, can the census be used against those who are here illegally?
No, as I said before, one of the things that is really important to every census worker is that we maintain absolute privacy, and we are sworn to do this not only during the census but for the rest of our lives. We do collect personal information about people, but none of that information is shared. In fact, by law, it has to be kept basically in a vault for 72 years. At that point, it will become available strictly for people to use for research purposes, genealogical searches, and that sort of thing. But this information is not shared with any other agency. No one has the right to receive this information. All
right, very good. Well, we'll look forward to this as part of the new year. Gene Wyant, the U.S. Census Office Manager in Charlottesville, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much, Bob.
And now let's send it to